Welcome to MELfeed.video. We are commencing a live web stream service via youtube.com from Echuca, Australia. We currently conduct these streams on Monday evenings, with other times to be added as more opportunities arise. Please visit our website MELfeed.video for further information. This web video project presents old and new community TV programs. Please enjoy your stay with MELfeed.video.
Hello and welcome to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. Today our guest is Katie Lindorf, who has 5 children and she is Catholic homeschooling all of those children. And she's here to tell us her experience and their age from 6 to 14. Or just turning 6, is it?
Yes. Just turned 6.
Just turned 6.
Yep.
Well, welcome to the program, Katie.
Thank you.
And can you tell us about your experience with homeschooling? How come you decided to homeschool your children?
Well, I started homeschooling as a student because my parents took me out of school and schooled me from year 8 to year 12. And so when the time came, it was a pretty straightforward decision to start homeschooling my kids.
And why did your parents homeschool you?
They took me out of school because during year 7 they were concerned of some of the teaching, the religious teaching that I was receiving, and they went and spoke to the teachers about where they thought they were wrong doctrinally, and the teachers wouldn't budge, so they felt they had no option but to take me out of school.
Oh wow, Isn't that interesting? Yeah, I've heard another mum was telling me the same thing, that she heard her teacher was telling the children that, you know, in the Catholic Church we believe Jesus is in the Eucharist, he really is in the Eucharist, and the teacher was saying something like, oh no, it's not, Jesus is not in the Eucharist, it's just a metaphor. Right. And so she literally took her out of school for that, because she said, no, I'm not wasting my time in it with teachers who aren't going to teach them the correct Catholic faith. Well,
you do have to wonder if they're going to alter certain teachings there, what other teachings are they not following?
Yeah.
You want those teachers to be an excellent example for your children.
Yeah. And do you find it hard work homeschooling 5 of them, because they're age 6 to 14?
Not particularly, because I don't really consider myself a teacher as such as a supervisor. I tend to supervise their curriculum, make sure that they're doing enough work, and not so much teach. They actually do the teaching themselves by reading and filling in the answers and learning.
Right. And so the first thing, like we were talking off camera, you're saying the most important thing is to teach them to read, because then they can read anything, they can learn anything. Yep. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, we found with all our kids, if you teach them to read, after that they can teach themselves. And my husband and I have found that in our own lives, in that, you know, we've built our own house and we did absolutely everything, and neither of us are builders, and we've never built before, and yet we did it all from reading.
So what, you literally built brick upon brick?
Yes,
you built your whole
literally
house.
Brick upon brick. My husband took 18 months off work, and we did 18 months full-time building while raising the kids as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
And your husband was homeschooled as well, wasn't he?
He was, years 10, 11 and 12.
Gee.
Which is interesting, because lots of people take the kids who homeschool their kids will put them back in for those years so that the kids can get VCE and enter scores.
Right. And so how did your husband go with, and you, how did you go with your scores and your subjects? Yeah,
well, both of us did the SAT test, which is an American test, which will, the score that you get from that will convert into an enter score.
Right.
The way that my husband actually got into university was through an interview. It's called alternative entry.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, he actually went in, interview, showed them his projects that he'd been working on, because being homeschooled he had the extra time to work on projects that he'd like to do. And yeah, they
And what did he
accepted him.
study?
Electronic engineering.
Okay. And did you study anything after you finished your
I
first
did
year?
a year of TAFE,
Yeah.
and I was doing information technology.
Right, okay.
And then I was offered a job, and I decided to take that because I figured that staring at computer screens wasn't for me.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And what job did you end up working in?
Admin.
Admin. Okay.
Yeah, office admin.
Okay. And you also run a farm as well on top of it.
Yes,
Both of you and
we've
your husband.
got 190 acres and
Wow.
about 200 sheep.
Wow. Oh
At the
my
moment.
gosh.
Yep.
And how are your children liking homeschooling? What's their reaction with it?
Well, yeah, they love it. They, if we ever want to threaten them, if they're being a bit naughty, then we say, "Oh, we'll send you back to school,"
Yeah.
and they knuckle down and get to it.
Yeah, they do the work.
Yeah, they realise that there's 6 hours a day out of their day
Yeah.
is too much. They don't want to give up that much time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the homeschooling doesn't actually take that long.
Yeah.
With kids that are going to really put their head down and work,
Yeah.
you don't need to spend 6 hours a day learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because school is broken up in like half an hour here, half an hour there, and then they sort of, and it's just all broken, isn't it? It's broken up throughout the day. So do you do how much hours a day would you do, and do you do it straight, or do you break it up? How do you sort of set the curriculum for the day?
Well, I kind of let the kids lead in that regard. So we have, they're often working when I get out of bed. I'm a bit.
They already start
They've
without you telling
already
them.
started. Yes,
Gee, that's good.
That's rare. I admit that other homeschooling mums don't get that. I'm lucky in that regard. Yeah, so they get out of bed. Sometimes I'll be eating breakfast going, no, it's too early for algebra. I need to eat my breakfast.
Oh, how cute.
But yeah, so they'll go till about lunchtime.
So they just get up in the morning, eat their breakfast, and then just start with whatever subject they want to start with.
Basically, yep.
Ah,
Yep,
okay.
we encourage things like maths and English to be done first, particularly maths, because if it gets too far in the morning, they start getting tired, and then they don't do as well
because you've got to
at the
concentrate more.
mathematics.
Yeah. And so with maths, the one that said it's too early for algebra, is that he or she didn't want to start first thing in the morning, they wanted to do a bit later in the day?
No, that was me saying it's too early for algebra because I'm still eating my breakfast. And
okay, they want you to teach
I don't
them.
do algebra before breakfast. Yeah.
And so, what are their friends like? You know, do they know other children that go to school, or do they talk to
They
other children
do.
that go to
They've
school?
got cousins that go to school. They've got extracurricular activities, friends there. It's interesting that we're hearing from these other kids, cousins and others unrelated, through the kids saying that, I wish I could come to your homeschool, wish I could do what you do. At school they're so disorganised, the kids are playing up, the boys muck around, and just a litany of complaints from the kids who are there.
That's amazing. We'll have to talk a little bit more about that. We have to go to a break now. You're watching NAT Chat. Stay with us. We'll be back with more very shortly.
Stop! Hold it right there. Have you done your pool safety check? Maintain the barriers, check the gate, and never leave anything that can be climbed on near the fence. Have you brushed up on your CPR skills? And don't tempt kids with toys. Tidy up.
Is that all?
When kids are around the pool, keep watch. They need your attention all the time. Okay, in we go.
Download your free home pool safety checklist and help Royal Lifesaving make this weekend your home pool safety weekend.
William Tyrrell was abducted from his nana's home on the New South Wales mid-north coast on the 12th of September 2014. And somebody knows who did it. Do you? There is a $1 million reward for information that leads police to William. That's 1 million reasons to make the call. Contact Crime Stoppers now. 1800 333 000. Make the call.
Northern Access Television will turn 30 in 2020. We are planning a celebration night with a book and a special TV show about our history. If you're a past member or a volunteer of NAT, we would love to hear from you. For more details, visit the website nat30years.info and find out how you can help celebrate 30 years of media for the community. The 30th anniversary of Northern Access Television. Let's celebrate in 2020.
Hello and welcome back to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. Today our guest is Katie Lindorf, if you've just joined us, and we're talking about Catholic homeschooling. She's homeschooling 5 of her children, all of her children. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
Now, before the break, we just sort of were talking about other children's interest in homeschooling that aren't being homeschooled. They're talking to your children. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, well, they don't talk to us, obviously, but talking to our kids, and our kids pass it on, is that they are sick of being put in school and learning nothing. And a cousin of one of my nieces feels that she's being held back by being in school. You know, she'll have a maths sheet, because they all get handed out their sheets. She'll finish her maths sheet and then sit around twiddling her thumbs because she has to wait for all the others to catch up.
Yeah.
So she, at least, would love to just be able to go forward at her own pace.
Yeah.
You know, she's said to them, "Oh, gee, why doesn't the teacher then give me a grade 6 maths sheet rather than a grade 4 or whatever she's in?"
Yeah. Well, that's one of my brothers actually was like that at school. He was just like so ahead of everybody else. And I think he might have been about, I can't remember if it was grade 3 or grade 4. And the teachers just put him up. They said, "Well, I'm sorry, you're too smart for this group. You're too ahead. You'll have to go to the next level." It was kind of good and bad, because it was sad because he left his friends, but it was such a small school anyway, so they still played together. But he was just beyond it. So he was just like really cluey. But it would be hard if the children are not being challenged enough, and they're not learning as much as they want to learn.
Yes. Well, I guess the other benefit with homeschooling is that it's tailored to each child. So you can have a child that's brilliant in maths but struggling with English. So you can put them up a grade in a conventional school, but what if they're struggling with the English?
Yeah.
So a homeschool education is tailored to that child because it's so much easier to keep track of 5 kids than it is 30.
Yeah, exactly. It's one teacher with 5 rather than one teacher with 30.
Yep.
It's a bit hard.
And you've got the freedom to, if one of your children is struggling, you can then stop and stay on that topic for as long as needed till they master that concept and then go on. Yeah.
And do you find, it's like I've talked to different homeschool mums, and some of them say, I just teach them what they're really interested in learning as well. So, like, say if they have a passion for, say, music, or they have a passion for geography or passion for maths, they really try and hone in what the children's interested in, because that's what they're going to really concentrate on and do well on. Have you heard of that method as well of teaching?
I have. I think balanced, because you don't know what they're going to end up doing.
Yeah.
I think extracurricular activities, that's where I work on those things. So, for instance, my kids are quite musical, so I'll send them to a choir, or I'll get them, lessons in an instrument or something.
Right.
But otherwise, I just see it as a broad education.
Okay. So you make sure you just include everything like they would at normal school, and then if they're showing a shining interest in something else, you'll maybe do that after that school time, like you're doing with the...
Yep.
So they're learning singing after school? They're in a choir or something, are they?
Yes, they're part of a choir.
And what does that involve?
Well, that involves weekly rehearsals and then performances, which can really vary. Often it's just the performances for family and friends at the end of each term, but that includes doing solos in front of all of us. So that's a big thing. Oh, I've never sung a solo, I wouldn't be brave enough, but they are.
Oh, isn't that wonderful?
But they also, last term, they were part of the Carols by Candlelight in St Mary's Basilica in Geelong.
Oh, beautiful.
They were also part of the new Geelong Library opening, So that was, you know, with all VIPs only kind of thing. So that was a big event for them too.
Wow.
So really varied locations, places, events.
Wow.
Which has given them, you know, a really broad, it's not just singing, it's they get to see so much more.
Yeah. And what about your own experience? Because you've tried both. You've tried conventional school and homeschooling. How do you feel about homeschooling now that you've tried? Well, obviously you must really like it because you've taken it on board and done it with your children as well. But
Yep.
just want to hear it from your own words, the differences that you found.
Well, I think that homeschooling is vastly superior, primarily because it's the mother, generally the mother, in most cases it's the mother, teaching her own children, and she has that love for her children, so she wants them to do well. A teacher cannot give that love to strangers' children, so she wants her children to go out in the world and do well, so she's going to, well, she gives up her own career, her own life for her children, to give them that education.
That's a really good point.
That she knows they need, yeah. And, you know, it's the customisation of it and just the freedom, just to allow them to be kids, but also to, you know, help them to be the very best they can be.
Yeah. And also I've often heard that a lot of children that are homeschooled are able to talk to all ages. They're not just only able to talk to their own age group. They're able to talk to adults and teenagers, all age groups. They don't have this kind of restriction over them. There's no one saying you're only fitting in with this certain type of person.
Well, if you consider how unnatural schools and even right down to playgroups or play centres, daycare centres, how unnatural they are. Like, think of it as an adult in a working environment. How many of your work colleagues are exactly your age? So they're not,
Exactly.
contrary to popular belief, they're not being set up in a conventional school. They're not being set up for real life.
Yeah, I've
They're
often
in
heard
an
that
artificial environment of peers only.
Yeah. And also then they've got the problem as well with peer group pressure. Like you see, occasionally you might see teenagers that just seem kind of down or like miserable or something. I don't know why, but it's just that year, you know, it's just that age group. But it's usually the ones that go to school. But the homeschool children that are teenagers are really full of life. They've got a bright smile on their face and a cheerful attitude.
Yep, yeah. Well, they don't have that pressure on them, I guess, to you know, be macho or be the best dressed or have the fanciest hairdo or the newest phone or any of those things. They don't have that pressure on them, so they can be free to be who they are, to relax and they don't realise that, I mean, they don't think, oh, uncool ever.
Yeah, no.
It's just, you know, this is my little brother, I'm going to pick him up and cuddle him and do what makes him feel good.
Yeah.
They don't stop
and they don't
and
think if anyone's watching.
No.
They don't care. It's
No.
just normal. We have to go to a break now.
Yeah, okay.
You're watching NAT Chat. Stay with us. We'll be back with more very shortly.
Hi, I'm Lane Beachley. Australians have recycled enough printer cartridges to cover Bondi Beach 12 times. That's kept 11,000 tonnes of valuable resources out of landfill. Drop your used original cartridges into the special boxes at participating retail outlets, and they'll be turned into new products from pens to road surfaces. Help us keep up the good work. Find out more at cartridges.planetarc.org.
RSPCA. For all creatures, great and small.
I had the boys over for a barbecue the day before our final. Anyway, Steve rocks up, no beer, and he brought his model girlfriend. He was showing off, going on about how he kicked the winning goal in the semis, you know. I must have gotten a bit distracted and I put his steak on the same plate the raw meat had been on. Anyway, we lost the final. Steve had to go off sick during the game. I mean, it's not my fault. I mean, who brings their girlfriend to a bloke's barbie anyway?
Hello and welcome back to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. If you've just joined us, we're here with Katie Lindorf, who is a homeschool mum. She's Catholic homeschooling 5 of her children, which are all of her children, and she's doing a great job. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
Now, just with your curriculum, how do you set out about the curriculum? Do you just teach them what you think they need to know, or how do you structure your program with the children?
Yep, I started out basically concentrating on the maths and English, so maths and reading specifically. And once they got beyond that, I was sort of doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then I got to the stage where it was like, well, I'm not really teaching them the social studies, history, geography, and I wasn't quite sure where to go, so I thought I'll just do a full curriculum. So I've put them onto the ACE program, Accelerated Christian Education, and they're learning everything, and I can be secure knowing that I like the safety net, I guess.
Yeah. And then do you correct it afterwards, or do they have is it on computer or is it all through books?
It's books, they're workbooks, and it's an interesting program because they actually correct themselves. However, they do have a final test at the end of each booklet to test their knowledge of what they've learned in that booklet, which I correct, and then that gets sent back to the school that I'm doing it through. So then they actually get report cards and everything at the end of each semester.
Okay, so you send their finished work to the school that's providing all the curriculum?
Yep.
In America, is it?
No, here in Queensland it is.
What's it called again?
Australian Christian Homeschooling is the provider, and Accelerated Christian Education.
Okay, is that in the Sunshine Coast? Or Brisbane?
I can't remember the name of the
actual
suburb.
Area, I have to look into that. Anyway, anyone can Google that.
Yep.
Also, how did you get the confidence to homeschool your own children?
Well, being homeschooled and having a husband who was homeschooled, and it wasn't really a choice.
Nicely mapped out for you. The platter was there. And with homeschooling socialisation, a lot of people have an issue with that. They will say, well, what about the social aspect with homeschooling? What are your thoughts if someone asks you that question?
Well, my first thought is everybody asks this question.
Yeah.
And my second thought is they do extracurricular. They're not locked up at home. They're not kept in cages or anything. They are actually normal children allowed to do normal things. And they do have friends. They do a lot of letter writing to their other homeschooled friends, which is a bit of a lost art these days with email. They see their cousins, they have family functions, it's pretty normal.
Yeah.
They get plenty of social interaction. They come shopping, they talk to the people.
Yeah. And also I've heard as well, because with them, when a child feels very loved and secure with its own family, they are like that in the world, in society.
Yep.
They're loved and secure, and they're confident to go out into society. So, and that's homeschool. This is from homeschool families, Catholic homeschool families that I've been speaking to and that I've read up on about, and even non-Catholic homeschool families, people that are homeschooled because the mum loves the child so much they want to teach them.
Yep.
And so then they grow up very secure in themselves, and they're confident naturally with other children.
Yep.
So I think, and they're confident to be themselves, which is a beautiful thing. There's not that peer group pressure that's torn them down and shredded them, or the bullies. The thing we were talking off camera. Would you like to talk a little bit about that? the social aspect, like what are you being socialised into?
Yeah. Well, my husband always likes to say that there's good socialisation and there's bad socialisation. In my homeschool, I don't have to instill an anti-bullying program because it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So not all socialisation is good, and people need to remember that. And I'm sure all of us can remember times back in our school days where we prefer that we weren't there right at that particular time.
Yeah, I remember seeing some things. I remember there was at my school, when I was in primary school, seeing 2 boys trying to throw this boy off a bridge.
Oh, wow.
And I was only 8 years old, and I was trying to talk. I talked them out of it, and I got another child to run into the school teacher's room and said to grab the teacher, and I'm sort of talking them out of it as I'm sort of negotiating.
Yep.
I'm the chief negotiator with them to stop them from dropping. He was like hanging off the bridge, and they're holding him. I'm going, stop.
Yeah.
And I think that's in a Catholic primary school too. So it was even a Catholic school. So it's not necessarily. But then the rest, the school days I had were really beautiful. I did actually like my school days. But there was dramas like that that you would never have at home, that you'd never see at home.
Yep.
So
yeah. There's undoubtedly there's really good things about conventional school. That you can't deny that.
Yeah.
But the accusations I think levelled at homeschooling are not accurate.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll talk as well. Hopefully you'll come on. Would you come on again the next week for a program?
Yeah, sure.
It'd be good to be back, because I wanted to talk about, there's a student actually, he's got the highest score in Australia in VCE, and he's never stepped foot in a school in his life.
Yep.
He was homeschooled, and he was top in Australia. So, there is that side of homeschooling as well. And are there many people just quickly, that are homeschooling their children?
There's people that I know, but I probably don't know of half of the ones that I homeschool.
Quite a lot now.
Yes.
And in Melbourne there's quite a lot, like even right in the inner city, like country people are homeschooling. Sometimes they do it because it's a distance away from the school. But now in inner city, it's just booming. There's so many homeschool families, and they run groups, so you all get the social interaction together as well with the mums with the children.
Yep.
And the dads sometimes if they come.
Yes. Yeah.
How many of your friends would you say were homeschooled now, would you know? Like you, or was it very few in those days?
Yes, it wasn't as many. There were sort of core families, but in Melbourne, up country,
you ended up marrying.
I did.
Your husband, who knew you as a child when you were homeschooled.
Yeah, our family sort of took us out of school at the same time. So we kind of homeschooled a little bit together.
Yeah, so we're like childhood sweethearts, I guess.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
That is
teenage
so
sweethearts.
Teenage sweethearts, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on the program, and we'll see you again next week.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. You've been watching NAT Chat. I hope you enjoyed the program. We'll see you again next week.
Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
Hello and welcome to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. Today our guest is Katie Lindorf, who's a Catholic homeschool mum, and she was also homeschooled for part of her schooling years, as well as her husband was too. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mirella.
Nice to have you back again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And now, with homeschooling, people wonder, what's going to happen to them after they leave? Will they be able to do anything? Will they be lost souls in the world? But you and your husband actually managed to build your own family home together without having any knowledge or experience of building. You didn't do any courses in building.
No.
So Tell us a little bit about that, because some of this must come from the initiative with homeschooling and the enthusiasm you get.
Yes, well, I think one of the main benefits of homeschooling is that while you're homeschooled, your parent acts as a supervisor, so you're actually teaching yourself to learn. Once you've learned that once you've taught yourself that you can learn anything, the sky's the limit, really. It's just down to your own aptitude then, but you become very self-motivated to learn. And I mean, we have so many interests. I think it'd take us like 5 lifetimes to master them all, but you know, the house was just one thing that we bought a block of land. There was no house on it. It was kind of just sensible for us to, well, let's build something on it.
Wow.
So we started off with a shed that was a kit, and that all managed to go up okay. And
that was just from reading the instructions and reading up on it? Did you Google stuff as well? And
yes, there were Google searches,
YouTube.
There were forums, YouTube, and of course reading all the standards, so to ensure that it was built to Australian standards. Last thing you want is your family home collapsing on you on a windy night. So and then after that it was like, well, you know, a house is pretty easy. People have been building them for thousands of years.
True, that's
so
true.
We start from the bottom and we just work up. We'll learn each thing as we go along.
And then you lived in the shed while you were building the house, were you?
No, I wasn't that brave. We rented while we were building, but we rented nearby. So.
So you just turn up to the house. And were you homeschooling at that time, or were the children, how old were the children?
We took 18 months full time so my husband took 18 months off work to just full time on the house, the two of us. We were raising children at that time, and we did start the homeschooling in that time. So I mean, we've got photos of me sitting there in a house that just had our lunch table in it, and you know, breastfeeding the baby and teaching the second one to read, sort of thing. So you just kind of during the breaks and things just do a little bit here and there. They were very young at that stage, of course, so they didn't need as much time.
Isn't that brilliant?
Spent.
That's brilliant. It's good to give other people hope as well, that anyone can do that. Like that we can, if we learn the right ropes. You know, if you just read the right books and find out, do the research that you did as well. And then you get the Australian standards, what you have to do.
Exactly. And we've then taken that on to the rest of our farm, learning to build fences through trial and error, and putting gates in, and even the whole cycle of sheep and looking after them. And then there's done a little bit of cropping and hay baling in that. You know, you just go along, and I mean, what's the worst that can happen, really? Our house hasn't fallen down yet.
So you find that you have a bit more initiative because you were homeschooled as well? Taking things upon yourself to sort of learn it yourself?
Well, you can. You have confidence in yourself that you can learn it. So why not try?
Exactly. That's beautiful. And with your farm, do you get very busy homeschooling the children and running the farm? Are you very involved in running of the farm as well?
Yes, I am, because my husband does 3 days of work, 3 days a week of work, so on the days that he's working, I am keeping an eye on the farm, on what needs to be done there at this time of year with the drought, picking up hay bales and feeding them, and getting the water and all that stuff for them. So
and do the children get involved in any of this as well?
They do, yes. Sometimes not voluntarily, but you know, come on kids, we need someone to open the gates, kind of thing.
Well, it's a good skill for them to learn as well, to grow up learning how to run a farm. That's already a skill in itself.
It is, and really we couldn't do it without them. Like we couldn't do the amount of work that we do without our kids pitching in very willingly.
That's good, and at the same time they get the great experience of it. Someday they might run a farm themselves.
I think some of them are thinking of going into agriculture.
Really?
So
beautiful.
And we're like first generation farmers. Our parents didn't farm at all, so we've had to learn it all from scratch.
What made you get into farming?
We just wanted the land, and when you've got the land, you've got to do something with it. So farm.
Okay, beautiful. And with homeschooling, sometimes there's a school of thought where when your child asks you something, it means their brain is really ready to receive it at that point in time. So it's the best time is you answer them at that time and you teach them at that time when they're asking you something.
Right.
I also practiced that as well once with my daughter as well, just with something she was asking me at the same time. Like it was when she was like 4, asking me how to count. So we did counting to 100, and I did it because she wanted to know in that moment. So I put all the effort in that moment because I'd heard about that school of thought.
Yep.
And then my husband came home, and I said, "Look, she can already count to 100." And he goes, "No, she can't. How could she count to 100?" And she started doing it, and he was like, "What?" And I just thought that was a really interesting school of thought, because when they're ready, they're going to really retain it. When they're really ready to learn and wanting to learn.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. I haven't heard of that, but yeah, that makes sense, and I'll probably try a bit harder now to answer when I'm asked a question.
I know, because it's at inopportune moments, like I was making dinner and all that. I was like, oh, hang on, I thought, oh no, remember that? What you heard? Dinner time? You stop what you're doing and teach it. And I thought, gee, it really worked. But you have to keep reminding yourself, because it's always when you're in the middle of something.
Of course, yes.
That happens, but it's actually really good because they really retain it.
Yeah, I guess they're asking for a reason, aren't they?
Yeah, I guess it's like that saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Have you heard that saying?
No, I haven't heard that one. Yeah.
It's sort of like a old wise saying from somewhere, I don't know where it is.
Yeah.
And is your husband involved in the homeschooling curriculum in any way?
Yes, he is. He's, while he doesn't necessarily do the day-to-day teaching as such, he is very involved, particularly when there's certain maths concepts, because I'm not a very good maths person. My strength is more in the English. So any maths concepts that I can't handle, just go see Dad.
Yeah, oh, that's brilliant. Right, we'll have to go to a break now. You're watching NAT Chat. Stay with us. We'll be back with more very shortly.
Every time you shop, the choices you make affect our community. It is important to select Australian products made by Aussie-owned companies. Our food security means quality and peace of mind. Your purchasing power keeps your dollars multiplying in our economy, keeping jobs, profits and decisions being made right here, which is better for your children.
So the next time you buy, look for the AusBuy logo. It makes all the difference.
If you were living on the streets, wouldn't you want more than just your best friend to keep you safe and warm? Donate to Backpack Bed for Homeless and give warm, waterproof protection and dignity tonight. Call 1300 OzHelp.
We've all seen this one time or another. We may even have done it ourselves. But inhaling balloon gas is very dangerous and can be fatal. The helium in balloon gas acts as an asphyxiant, and when you inhale, it displaces the oxygen in your lungs. Balloon gas is safe in balloons and when you release it in a well-ventilated area and in a safe manner. So the next time you see some sucker about to inhale balloon gas, or you think it's going to be a laugh, stop and be gas-wise.
Fabulous minutes every week. Meet the famous, the fortunate and the fashionable as Steve and Jacqueline take you to all the events around town. Not to be missed, it's the most fabulous 15 minutes you'll ever see.
Hello and welcome back to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. If you've just joined us, we're here with Katie Lindorf, who is a Catholic homeschool mum. She has 5 children who she's homeschooling, and she was also homeschooled for part of her schooling years as well, and so was her husband. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
And you run a farm and you built your own house. I mean, the list goes on. You've done so much, and there's so much more you want to do. It's really wonderful.
Yep.
Now, were your brothers and sisters in your family all homeschooled? What was the situation? Tell us a little bit about your family.
Okay, well, I'm one of 8, and in my family we've got what we call the older 4 and the younger 4. So we've got older siblings and then a gap of 7 years, and then the younger ones, and I'm the oldest of the younger ones.
Yeah.
And the younger ones were homeschooled, the older ones were not.
Oh, okay.
And interestingly, out of all the 8 children, only one has a degree from university.
Right.
All the others are managing to make their way in the world without the letters at the end of the name.
Yeah.
And my younger sister, who has the degree, has never set foot in a school in her life.
Oh.
And she is quite proud to say that to everybody.
What? That's unbelievable. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, so she never went to school. She was totally homeschooled, and she's the first one in our family to actually have gotten a degree.
Isn't that cute? And so when she got the degree, did she go to university to do it, or did she do it online?
Yep, she went to university to do it.
Isn't that amazing? So it just sort of, it's informing to people, because people aren't aware of so much about homeschooling. So it's sort of coming up now that there's so many people in a city that are homeschooling, as well as in the country.
Yep.
It's becoming such a popular thing. Why do you think it's becoming so popular now?
I think there is a number of people who are not happy with what the way the education system is going. I think a lot of people really want it to get back to basics. I think they're asking about the 3 R's basically. The reading, writing and arithmetic, because it's being thrown out the window in favour of trends, I think, that are coming through. I mean, just in 4th term, I had 2 people quite separately come up to me and say, "Oh, I heard you homeschool. I want to homeschool my kids next year." And one reason was, for one of them, was that there was no decent high schools in our area. And the other one for the other family was that they found out their kids had spent 2 weeks at school making a puppet. And they were just shocked. They were like, but what about your maths? What about your reading?
Wow.
So I think a lot of people are just sick of it. They're just saying, well, if the government's not going to provide a decent education, I'm going to have to.
Isn't it interesting? I wonder why it's gone downhill. Why do you think that is?
Well, that's a long topic right there, but I would say left-wing ideology has taken over in all aspects of life, being fueled by the media. But anyway, that's a whole other topic that don't get me started on that one.
Okay. If there's a mother watching or father watching who wants to homeschool their children or their child, is there any advice you can give them on what steps to get started? How can they get started and have the confidence to do it if they're really feeling passionate about this and they want to do it, but they don't know how to get started? What sort of advice could you give them?
Well, the first thing would be to have that passion and confidence. You really have to believe that what you're doing is right for your child, because that will keep you going when the times get tough, because you do run out of steam at times and you do get tired and other things can get overwhelming, so you need to have that real grit to just keep going. And of course it gets better again, as life does. But the other thing is just go online, do searches, look up homeschooling networks and different curriculums, and just talk to people. They may know people around them. Go and talk to them. Most people are more than happy to talk about where they started, why they started, how they started.
Also Google groups, homeschool groups, so you can join a homeschool group as well.
Yep.
To get advice from other mothers that are doing it, or fathers that are doing it. It's mostly mothers that are in the homeschool groups.
Yeah, I think it's mostly
sometimes the
mothers.
fathers come in if the mums can't, or they help out if the mum's having another baby.
Yep, that, or dad's on shift work and he happens to have that day off. He'll take the opportunity to be with his kids.
And also YouTube, you could probably YouTube it and look up people that are doing homeschooling and how they go about it.
Yeah, probably, although there are as many different ways of homeschooling as there are families, I think. Everybody does it a little bit differently. It just fits in with what their lifestyle is. I did hear of a lady who, she worked during the day and she homeschooled her children in the evenings when she got home from work. But of course she had older teenager children who could stay at home. So
to look after the younger ones.
Yeah. So, you know, that's different. I haven't heard of that.
Oh, that's a new way, yeah. So she still managed to work full-time and homeschool. She must have been tired.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And then homeschool them when she got home.
Yeah.
And all she wants to do is probably lie down.
Yep, yeah. I guess they probably did stuff during the day and you know, she assisted at night.
Yeah, maybe they did more of the activity type stuff and then she could do a little bit of... Well, I suppose if the older ones already have learnt a bit, like reading, they could start teaching the little ones to read and write and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think in her particular case she was separated and had just the two or three teenagers.
Gee, what dedication.
Yeah, so she was determined to get it done, and you know, where there's a will, there's a way.
I think the homeschool mums, they're such a unique bunch. Like they're really, they have this, both, you know, the homeschool groups, the Catholic ones and just the general homeschool group, they have this passion to really, they love their children so much, they want to give the best to their children. They want, even if it costs them their own time, you know, and their own, well, I'd like to do this, they don't go there, they get into it, you know.
Yeah, you have to have that passion because that's what keeps you going.
It's a beautiful thing.
And even though, you know, I would never in a million years have become a teacher in a school. I'm just not teacher material. But when it comes to my kids, I'm willing to do that and go the extra mile for them. And I think that's what you have to have too.
And looking back and watching them develop, do you look back in awe, like when you reflect every now and then and see how much they've learnt or how they've grown?
Oh yeah, and it goes so fast too. You know, people think that it takes a long time for them to grow up, but I think it goes so fast. Seeing my oldest now, who's doing mathematics that I can't do anymore.
Wow.
You know, she can't ask me for help. She has to go ask Dad.
Oh, fantastic.
She's outstripped my meagre mathematics skills.
Wonderful.
But you know, there's support.
Soaring to great heights. We have to go to a break now. You're watching NAT Chat. Stay with us. We'll be back very shortly.
Classifications let you know about the content of movies and computer games so you can make informed choices. G tells you the content is suitable for general viewing and playing. PG means parental guidance is recommended and the content may not be suitable for younger children. M says it's recommended for mature audiences over 15. MA 15 Plus indicates that legal restrictions apply and the material is not suitable for those under 15. R18 Plus is restricted to 18 years and above. You can also find useful consumer advice next to the classification. Look out for these symbols on games, DVDs, advertising posters and movies. Please use these classifications to help you choose with confidence.
I'm able to dream, I'm able to smile, I'm able to grow and I'll go the extra mile, one day at a time. So put your hands together, we can change lives forever. Together, we're able.
Able Australia. Together, we're able.
If a man's home is his castle, his shed is his kingdom. It's a place men can hang out with a few mates, build a few things, even if you haven't before, and give back to the community. No man should be without a shed. The Australian Men's Shed Association is working to provide a shed for all Australian men, and they have over 400 already. Visit your local shed, build your community, and make a difference. Find a shed near you. It's time to give back.
Transports of Distant Delight is a mixed selection of transportation pictures from here and there and almost everywhere, but not quite. Some quirky, some mundane, some from the past, perhaps reflecting a transit system that has vanished into history, and some from thriving transport entities that continue to endure despite the constant pressures from the all-pervasive motor car. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome back to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. If you've just joined us, we're here with Katie Lindorf, who's a Catholic homeschool mum. She has 5 children. She's homeschooling all of them, and her husband was homeschooled as well as herself for some of their years of schooling. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
Now, in a summary, what would you say the benefits of homeschooling are? Just to think of all, well, let's list as many benefits as we can think of homeschooling.
Yes, well, there's lots of benefits, but I guess from a personal level, you're very motivated to learn, and you know that you can learn anything yourself, as we touched on earlier with the building the house.
Yeah.
You have the confidence, and learning that throughout your schooling years translates into being very useful at university, rather than being spoon-fed everything, which often happens in the conventional schools where they're constantly reminded when assignments have to come in and that sort of thing. At university, it's okay, peoples, you've got this assignment due at the end of term, or 6 weeks from now. And how many of these young people then go, 6 weeks, I got heaps of time. And then last night before they're busy tapping away.
I remember when I was at school, in secondary school, and the teacher used to read this book to us. She used to read it for some of the class, and then she told us to finish reading the book and then to answer all these questions on it, and she would be talking about the book in the class, just chatting about it, and I'd be taking down notes just with her chitter-chatter about the book. And then we had an assignment about writing about the whole book, and we had to read the book and then write all about the book. An essay, a really big assignment, and I did it just based on all her notes in the classroom. I didn't even read the book. I just did it based on her. Naughty me. And I didn't even read it, so I wrote the book, and then she signs back, excellent, you can see you have thoroughly read and understood the book. I didn't even read it. I just took it based on all the things I could see she loved about the book. Oh,
don't
do that at home. Don't do that at school.
That's forward thinking on your part.
But that's what you're saying. So at school they're sort of spoon-fed.
So and learning that, it translates better in university, and of course that means better results in the end for your university results. But then as the homeschooling mother, it creates a real closeness in the family, because you're not sending them away for that period of time each day. I think also it gives the kids an opportunity to not only see but assist in running the house, because we're all at home all day. The house can get pretty messy and dirty at times, but they are all involved in cleaning up the mess and the dirt. So they would learn over the years to take the initiative to either not make the mess in the first place, because they're just going to have to clean it up, or if they do see a mess, they'll clean it up. And it's not some sort of esoteric thing that happens at home, some magic dirty clothes basket that woomph, there's your clean clothes folded on your bed sort of thing. It's there in their face, they're doing it, and the life skills that are part of it. But you really get to know your kids as individuals, as people, and being able to watch them develop and come out with some amazing insights. We've had recently, we've just instituted, before our family prayers, we get the one who's leading, who's usually the one who does grace at meal times. They will say the intention that we're offering it up for. And I have been astounded at some of the intentions that they have come up with. They'll be praying for, the government, or praying for a certain law not to be passed, or praying for, and this is coming from an 11-year-old. When I was 11 years old, I didn't know anything about a government. So, and they pray for the church and all sorts of things, but because they're so involved in our lives as adults, my husband and I, we include them in everything. And they learn so much more. We'll go to clearing sales with them, farm clearing sales, and they'll watch the auctioneer auctioning off stuff, and their games for the next few days will be auctioning off their toys to each other, sort of thing. So it's just, they're not separated from us. We're always together, which of course, has its downsides, but mostly it's good.
Yeah.
We have a lot of fun together, and we have work together.
Yeah.
And I think they can see that, you know, we're not perfect, and that, you know, that one of the intentions that they have even prayed for is us, my husband and I, as prayers. Like, you know, they recognise that, you know, even we need prayers.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very humbling, but it's very rewarding too.
That's beautiful. And do you find it's hard to say, to compare it to another family because every family is different, but do you find that your bond is very close with the children because you're homeschooling, because you spend so much more time with them and you're teaching them, you know, so it's a huge giving, you know.
Even now, if they go somewhere for a sleepover, or, you know, to Grandma's house or Nana's house or something for a sleepover, I feel like something's missing. I feel like part of me's missing when I'm driving away. I'm driving away going, I'm leaving my kid back there. She's 14.
Yeah.
You know, and it's very, even now, because I'm so unused to it.
Yeah.
And yet, you know, I can't say that people will accuse you of wrapping them up in cotton wool, and it's like, well, I don't think they're ready yet. It's my prerogative as a parent to let them out a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
I know my mother always used to say that children were like a kite. You had to let the string out, but you had to decide when to let the string out and when to pull it back in.
Yeah.
Until finally you let go of the string and let them fly their own way.
So scary.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. Or maybe they never do really let go of the string, I don't know.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's a beautiful analogy, really, to think of it like that, because you're watching over them and you love them so much, because you know, and you just and you've got to watch them and just make sure that pray for them as well, like you know, it's all one, isn't it?
Yeah,
Praying
we pray for each other.
Yeah. And they all go to mass. Do they all go to mass as well? You go to mass every do you go every day? You're in the country, so
every week,
every Sunday. Yeah,
it's a bit far otherwise. So.
They probably don't have daily mass up there anyway where you are. It's a bit far.
We'd have to travel for that.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's been wonderful having you on the program. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
You've been watching NAT Chat. I hope you enjoyed the program. We'll see you again soon.
Alleluia. Om Mani Padme Om. Allah Satnam.
Welcome. You're watching Harmony and Diversity, and today we're speaking with Visalala, who's a member of the African community in Melbourne. Thanks for coming in, Visalala.
You're welcome.
Your background, to start with, you were born in Angola.
Yes.
And you left there when you were about 8 months old, is that right?
That's correct.
And that was because of the conflict there?
That's right. It was because of the civil war that started in 1975.
Then you went from there to Zambia,
Yes.
What happened there?
Basically, what happened was, I guess my memories of Africa are all of Zambia, because that's where I remember the most. I mean, having left at 8 months, I had no memory of what what life was like in Angola. So all I remember of Zambia is living there and growing up. I went to school there. I ate, I slept, I had friends, and obviously I remember being aware of the fact that I was, a refugee from across the border, because I spoke Portuguese and I spoke English at the same time. And I guess culturally we're slightly different from, the people in the Zambian population. So those were my memories.
You described the situation in Zambia as being very transient because of the neighbouring countries.
Yes, Zambia is a very interesting country if you look at it geographically, where it's located, and if you look back at the time that I was there, 1986, there were a lot of conflicts around all the countries that Zambia basically borders with. When you think of the Congo, I mean, obviously there's still a little bit of conflict there now, so that borders with Zambia as well. And you had Angola, which is where I come from. There was a civil war. And across on the other side, there's Mozambique. There was a civil war. Malawi, there was a civil war. Even countries just a little bit farther up, Tanzania, there were a little bit of unease there as well. And I also remember growing up or meeting people from Uganda, which again is close to Tanzania. And again, there was a civil war there as well. Going south, you had the apartheid movement in South Africa. So there were a lot of also South Africans who part of the ANC who had moved into the country to escape obviously apartheid and prosecution from the apartheid movement. But you also had people from Namibia who had also left Namibia because of the apartheid movement and had somehow found themselves in Zambia, again, escaping persecution.
So it was a real melting pot. What did it look like? You were only young, of course, but you would have been mixing with people from a lot of different countries. And
I feel very fortunate, because I think I met a lot of the very idealistic Africans, because they were the people who were at the forefront of a lot of the movements that then, unfortunately, the negative side of it is obviously the civil war, the ugliness, but no one actually ever looks at the positive side, that these people were trying to get change because they didn't have change. Nowadays we look at South Africa and we obviously praise Mandela and say, oh great, look at what the ANC has done, look at Mandela has led the ANC through this political change. But there were a lot of other countries in Africa where the same thing was occurring at the same time, whereas they literally have not received the same kind of praise as South Africa has gotten for changing the political dialogue that existed there since the beginning of colonialization. Angola was affected by the same thing, even longer than South Africa was, for about 500 years. I mean, that's one thing that people don't historically look at. Namibia through South Africa, also the Dutch, they were also affected by the same thing. So there were a lot of very young, idealistic revolutionists, intelligent, they had studied either overseas or through, some of them had studied at the top universities overseas or even in the top universities in their own country. And those were the people that, as a child, I was accustomed to associating with.
So it was a pretty exciting environment, really, environment of change.
Well, yes, at the time it was a very environment of change. Now, I know when people ask me about, what was it like, I guess they're expecting a rather, oh, it was terrible, it was hard, or this and that. I mean, I'm not exactly sure how those people survived or what they did or whether did they kill, did they do this or whatever. That's actually was never relevant to me. My relationship with them was as a child. They were always very polite, very nice to me. They never seemed miserable or unhappy, regardless of whatever the situations that they were going through. I remember some of, I guess, my mother's and father's friends who were from South Africa. Obviously, they've been basically running away from the apartheid movement. So I'm guessing they would have had a lot of side issues there. But from my perspective, they always looked happy, There's always about, oh, there you are, greetings. We used to eat together, talk. And I commend my parents for having kept me, I guess, sheltered from whatever might have been going on, but I never got a sense of any problems.
So your experience at that point of Africa was reasonably positive. It was nothing.
No, I don't remember having any negative or hating it or thinking that, God, I can't wait to get out of here. Obviously I was aware that I was living in someone else's country, which was pointed out to me, by the locals. But it wasn't. I never felt like I was in any physical danger. Right. It was the fact that I was in the wrong place, and in 1986 the war in Angola had probably been going on for almost 11 years, and it ended up going on for maybe another 11, so that would have been, the war went on for about 27 years. Right. So that's another 12 or so 12 years. Yeah. No, actually more than 12. That would have been 15 years, or 16 years. Yeah. So it went on for another 16 years from the time that I left. So basically from, I guess I'm trying to extrapolate from my mother's perspective, not knowing when the war would end or when we would go back, I guess there's a sense of limbo. Yes. Of just, you don't know what the future is going to be like. So ideally, I think we would have liked to have gone back, but that wasn't actually a choice at the time. Didn't happen. No. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about you coming to Australia. Thank you.
We'll be back in a moment.
One in 5 of us are affected.
10% of us will have at least one.
And the numbers double for Indigenous Australians.
Just as quick as a click of your fingers, it can happen to anyone at any time.
What would you do if someone close to you was having a seizure?
Imagine if it was your child.
My brother has it. My sister has it.
I have it.
I have it too.
You're not alone.
You're not different.
And you have a bright future ahead of you.
So click for kids.
I'm Amy Lee, and I'm part of it.
This bank is helping to save lives. Every year, 500,000 Victorians have no idea where their next meal is coming from. Food Bank Victoria works with farmers, supermarkets and manufacturers to make sure their surplus stock ends up here to be distributed to those in need. But all of this is not enough. Right now, this bank needs interest, your interest, to support Victorians in need. If you can help, visit foodbankvictoria.org.au.
Welcome back. You're watching Harmony and Diversity, and today we're speaking with Visalala, and she's an African resident in Melbourne. You then left Zambia for Australia, and you came as a refugee family. What was that like? Arriving as a refugee family, what was the story?
Well, at that time I didn't think, when I first left Africa or Zambia, getting on the plane, I thought nothing of it. It was just like we were moving from another town to another town. I'd never heard anything about Australia. I had no idea where Australia was. I had no idea what language I guess I got told they spoke English in Australia. Obviously that wasn't going to be a problem because I'd been speaking English since I started speaking. So when I started speaking, I could speak Portuguese and English at the same time, and I'd picked up 3 or 4 other African languages just from moving around the country. So I really, as a 9-year-old, really didn't think I had any issues, any problems that I had to worry about. I was a little bit upset that I was leaving my friends behind again. And I guess when you're moving around as much as we did, you were always leaving something behind. So that, wasn't something I was basically looking forward to. I didn't really think of the kind of friends I was going to make. Didn't bother me. I guess I was getting older and starting to form physical attachments, or at least physical attachments to friendships. And anyway, so when we arrived, we actually came here via Perth, Sydney, Melbourne. I remember it being colder than I'd imagined it was going to be. They told us it was summer. We arrived here in November. That was going to be really warm. Instead, it was like cold. So we actually, weren't prepared for the climate. And unfortunately, we weren't prepared for a lot of the other things that we were told were going to be, but didn't happen. So unfortunately, our expectations that once we came into Australia, all our lives were going to be like easy and better. That was one of the misconceptions that I think my parents had, and in essence, myself. So what happened instead is realizing just how hard they would have had to work just to, I guess, maintain the basic our basic needs, which they did. Well, they weren't complaining, but it was the assumption that my mother, who was a teacher, and my father then, who had a business degree, they thought they were able to continue their careers, but that was actually, they didn't have those opportunities to do so. So they had a choice of either work in a factory, or your degree is invalid here, or go back to university. And with 4 kids, that's obviously not an option that you're going to consider.
No. What we were discussing earlier, we were talking about the tragedy of being a refugee. You made an interesting point about what you think the tragedy is of being a refugee.
Yes, well, whenever I meet people, they always ask me, "Oh, what was it like? Was it terrible? How being a refugee?" And one of the things I always tell them is that my life changed not when I came to Australia, because they want this happy ending story about, oh, you come to Australia and your whole life is like just starts over. But for me, the tragedy has been the change for me began when I first left my country. Whether I was aware of it or not, it didn't matter. But once I left, it meant everything else that happened to me was a result of my leaving. Having to migrate to Australia was a result of my leaving Angola in the first place. And that was a result of the Civil War, which, like I mentioned to you before, was also a fallout of the Cold War between the US and Russia. I mean, no one ever talks about it. As we were discussing it before, it was never a result of religious reasons, or the divisions within the country were not religious. They weren't because of tribal, as it's often referred to, that in Africa it's all about, the conflicts are all about tribal warfare. It was never that. It was all about ideology. And those ideologies that people strongly believed in terms of the direction that they felt they wanted Africa to go to in the future, is what kept them divided. And on top of that, we have the US on one hand and Russia on the other hand, influencing different political parties and also political ideologies, and fueling it. We had the Cubans who were in Angola for for 27 years. They fought the war on the side of the current political party that's in power. And Reagan gave us a lot of money to the other opposition side, over 21 million, to buy arms at the time. So this is what made the war continue on for as long as it did.
So it goes on, and there was you also mentioned it as a young child, and there's a lot of migrant children, I would call them migrant children rather than refugees, but refugees as well, who come at about 7, 8, 9 years old. Now, you mentioned something about having a little bit of a An anger, an
Yes.
angst, yes.
And I feel very angry. I feel angry that I had to leave the country that I was born in, that I never got the opportunity to grow up there. And that anger, we were talking before about where it's directed. And for me, I can't direct it at my parents because they did what they thought was best for me. And so it's almost that you direct it to, you try to basically make sense of it. And then whose fault is it?
Yeah.
And then you look at people like the US, and you look at, the Cold War, you look at Russia, and you look at, at the end of the day, they're the ones who kept the war going for as long as it did. So my anger, unfortunately, is directed at a lot of the colonial powers at the time that were actually manipulating and controlling the situation. And I feel more like a victim of the
Cold War. Yes.
More than, a victim of a civil war.
And as a child, when you move from some place like that, you're not the decision maker.
No, I wasn't the decision maker. No. And there was a sense of, I felt like a suitcase when we left. And when I first said to you why I had no emotions landing in Australia. It was simply, we're going to this country, it's meant to be better for us. I went, okay, well, that's fine. I was never asked for my opinion, what I thought of it, whether I wanted to come. And when I got here, the reality of it for me was completely different to the reality for my parents. I remember growing up, I was happy. I didn't have any problems with the people around me. So coming here, I had a completely different kettle of fish to deal with, Well,
we'll deal with that kettle of fish in a moment because we're out of time. We'll be back in a moment.
We always liked to play chess together ever since we were little. He was always a better player than me. When I was diagnosed with Pompei's disease in 2002, I was told that my life expectancy was going to be poor, and my condition deteriorated rapidly before I was able to start treatment. My brother and I both suffered from the disease. But now I consider myself the fortunate one. My brother spent the last 2 years of his life in hospital. He didn't have access to this wonderful treatment that should be available to everybody. The world just keeps getting smaller as you progressively lose the ability to walk. So your world shrinks, and then gradually you realise, I haven't been to the supermarket in 6 months. I'm 59 now, and every year I can see my daughter grow up is a blessing. I believe my treatment's made this possible.
To learn more and help those living with Pompei's disease, register at australianpompey.com.
Welcome back. You're watching Harmony and Diversity, and we're speaking with Visalala, who's a member of the African community in Melbourne. Now, arriving here, a little African girl, 9 years old, into school. What was that like? What was schooling like? What happened there?
It was a shock to the system, and not in the way that a lot of people would think. It wasn't it wasn't an academic challenge. The schools that I came from were more than adequate in terms of teaching me everything I needed to know up to the level that I was at. It was the shock was how I was then treated and referred to as an African person. Before I came here, I never thought of myself as black. My identity was around my nationality and my family. But when I crossed into Australia, that all that got washed away. My nationality was no longer, was no longer an issue, or it was no longer given significance. And I was given a lot of a sense of self-pride from my parents about being Angolan and being strong and fighting for your rights, as obviously that's why we ended up in a war for 27 years, a civil war, because everyone has very strong sense of who they are. And coming here, I got reduced to someone who was just black. And where I don't have a problem with being black, obviously I am black, but it's not what defines me as a person. It wasn't what defined me as a 9-year-old, and it still isn't what defines me now. What I found was people had very negative stereotypes of Africans that I previously wasn't aware existed. Things around people just, a lot of the children, around the same age as me would avoid me for as much as they could. Whenever it came to group activities in class, they would pick me being the last person, and the only reason that they gave was basically I was black, and they felt that in their minds as a black person I had to be treated a certain way, and that would be the last person to be picked because I wasn't as good as they were. They had this belief in their heads that they were better than I was, simply based on their skin color, and as an inferior person I had to be treated as such. And there was one particular girl who kind of led the vendetta or the charge against making sure that my place at the bottom of the pecking order was maintained. She would basically do things like, if someone even made a point of picking me before someone else, she would point it out that no, she needs to go down here because you're not picking her, are you? She's black, you're not picking her. We pick her last. So those things were the environment that I actually, I had to psychologically adjust to. And that obviously created a greater sense of social isolation, because I immediately had to deal with the fact that people didn't like me, not because I was Angolan anymore, but because I was actually physically black. And that was something I had no power over. Yeah, it was that I didn't feel powerless, but it was a sense of like, oh, okay, this is interesting. I never thought this was ever a problem. And along with the stereotypes of people didn't expect me to be very smart. When I first came here, they put me in an English speaking group because they felt that my English, for whatever reason, wasn't as good as the other students. And strangely enough, I didn't last in that group because my English wasn't a problem. At that point, I was actually speaking 4 languages. I was obviously more linguistically advanced than any of the kids in the school that I was at. But they'd made the judgment simply by the place where I'd come from. I'd come from Africa. I was African. Therefore, it was an automatic, placement into this English group without ever even investigating whether the country that I'd come from, whether they spoke English. And those kinds of assumptions and stereotypes, unfortunately, I felt like ever since then I've had to deal with either on a daily basis and unfortunately in almost every aspect of life that I've had in Australia.
And you also, when you came here, you would have been living in blocks of flats, or that'd be unfamiliar from your Zambian experience?
Yes, the environment in which, one of the biggest changes was also the environment and food. I remember living in a house in Zambia. It wasn't the biggest house, but it was a house. But it was also open. It meant that I could wander off to the next door neighbours. I knew who all the kids in the neighbourhood were. I would play with them before school or after school, whichever it was. Coming here, once my parents found a job, they got an apartment in Maribyrnong. That apartment not only was it obviously small, but it felt like living in a box. All of a sudden, I went from being able to play wherever I wanted to play to being confined after school to basically being indoors. Automatically, I became more sedentary than active. And a lot of the activities that I would have done, like come home, go and pick mulberries off a fruit tree or guavas or things like that, were all cut off. And socially as well, I didn't know who my neighbours were. And the neighbours didn't even have any kids. If they had any, we'd never seen them before. So it meant that I didn't actually get to play with other kids because the kids at school wouldn't invite me to their houses because I was different. I had to wait until an opportunity arose with my parents' friends who were of similar backgrounds to socialise, and that might be once a week or maybe once a month. We relied on parties, social gatherings, you know. Yeah. Every time an African would come to, but at that time the African population was so small that every time someone new would come, everyone would know about it. Oh, yes. Everyone would gather and they'd throw a party to welcome them into the community. Okay. Yeah. So that's how I met a lot of, you know, the kids around my age group.
So it was very cohesive African group.
Yeah, at the time it was very cohesive African group, and I kept in contact, or I know most of the people that I knew when I first came here 27 years ago, and I refer to them all as aunties and uncles, and we've literally grown up together.
Well, we're actually running towards the end of time, so in conversation you mentioned one thing which you probably will never be forgiven for. You don't like Vegemite.
Yes. I don't like Vegemite, yes. The shock of tasting Vegemite for the first time, I'll never forget it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, thank you so much, Visalala, and if we get the opportunity, I'd very much like to speak to you again to explore more about what it means to be a young African in Australia.
Thank you very much, Tom.
We'll be back next week.
Baha'u'llah, Shanti Om, Allahu
Every new line means 2 more hands. Join us, lions.org.au.
There's a difference between forgetting something once and forgetting it many times. There's a difference between forgetfulness and dementia. Talk to someone who understands. Call the National Dementia Helpline on 1800 100 500.
Hot water storage tanks can be a breeding ground for Legionnaire's disease bacteria. You can catch Legionnaire's disease by inhaling small droplets of infected water during showers or other activities. To prevent this from happening, you should never reduce the temperature setting. Tank temperature should be left as set by your plumber. Or eliminate the problem completely with a tankless gas hot water system. For more information, visit healthyhotwater.com.au.
Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
The following program carries an MA classification and may contain adult themes and coarse language. MELfeed.video advises that it is suitable for viewers aged 15 plus.
love in hotel rooms. There are friends in hotel rooms. There are holidays in hotel rooms. There is escape in hotel rooms. There is anticipation in hotel rooms. There are police playing Russian roulette in hotel rooms. There are victims of Mossad in hotel rooms. There are journalists making love with subjects in hotel rooms. There are property developers fixing cricket matches in hotel rooms. There are tourists not speaking each other's languages in hotel rooms. There are rock stars listening to sycophants in hotel rooms. There are artists painting portraits of strangers in hotel rooms. There are poets channeling visions in hotel rooms. There are broken fans bang, bang, banging against wire frames in hotel rooms. There are bar fridges with overpriced booze in hotel rooms. There are unaccounted guests in hotel rooms. There is the possibility of moving on in hotel rooms. There is the chance to go elsewhere in hotel rooms. There is the freedom of knowing that this is not it in hotel rooms. There is liberation from all ties in hotel rooms. Everything is possible in hotel rooms, and that's why I like hotel rooms.
The 112 tram, Saturday the 28th of August 2010. On Gilbert Road, a tall singular green flower lifts like the ruffled neck of a Spanish courtier bowing, if only momentarily, before the native court of Montezuma, somewhere in the retreats of South America. On St. George's Road, a group of Chinese students gather together, tightly, covered in the thick, deep green foliage of their company body language, calling like cats, heads bobbing close as camellias. On Brunswick Street, a lone female Indian student, isolated by beauty and iPod earphones, squeezes between myself and a bearded fellow in his early 40s, standing but for his right leg kneeling on the seat, dressed for trekking in his Kathmandu wear, with matching backpack. He looks her over and dreams of climbing the Indian slopes. I close my eyes, feeling the warmth of my face through the tram windows, and in the pleasant emptiness, words come. Who is it who calls across this valley of sorrows? Who is it who makes these aloes bleed their balm? Who is it who gathers these fingers and toes into their baskets to make trinkets and necklaces for the kings, to question the queens of the breadth of their known domains? Or is it only but the interruption, the priceless accord of unsolicited minds? If that is the case, then welcome. Sit by me on this overcrowded tram. At St. Vincent's Plaza, the clouds swell in the late winter's empty branches, odd foliage for the old elms. At Treasury's Place, 5 palms in the square of our bronze poet. No fingers, only the fountain sprouts words to fill the sky's book. Peace.
This too will pass, and when it does, you will still have the wine, the moon, the friends, the moment, the anger and rage over, the love, the excitement, the satisfaction, the strange dissatisfaction, over and over again.
The middle-aged housewife shuffles past in her blue greatcoat, split like the husk of a dried pea. She does not seem to notice you as she browses amongst the strands of wrapped coriander. But you soon find out that such people have special powers. She has seen that your fly is half an inch undone, registered the untidy self-scissoredness of your beard. She has seen that you are slightly upset and a little cross, perhaps, with the mincing female shop assistant. But she is not completely sure. She thinks it may be with her. While the woman in front of you in the queue is buying very small cans of cat food, presumably for very small cats. And the man who mutters at himself and jerks and claws at himself with taloned hands has already read your mind and is recoiling from the sultriness and the immensity of your mental, ever-stretching, sun-baked, deserted aisles of cans.
This one is living in Collingwood, or why I no longer share houses. I was 20 and living in Collingwood in the old miner's cottage with two friends, one of whom was becoming an alcoholic and who kept wine on tap in a cask in the fridge. Where the hammock hung between two trees out the back, the corrugated iron fence marking the boundary of a bluestone lane. Where we listened to Randy Newman on high rotation, hearing again and again, "Let's drop the big one." My friends making moulds of latex and hanging model dummies' legs on walls with strange additions. The grimy dead-end street where miners' cottages shared thin partitions and sounds, and dust would hit you in the face. Where the old lady next door had been born, squinting in not quite right glasses, buttoning her faded pink cardigan at the front with a safety pin. The house I shared with a mortician and a Defence Department employee, the mortician secreting spare brains in brine in the living room, hanging up photos of dead people and bringing home free white overalls, which we would wear in homage to Clockwork Orange. And my alcoholic friend, who couldn't quite work out what was going on with her life, declared herself asexual. And then some years later, a non-drinking lesbian, but I came as a bridesmaid to the visa wedding in a white windcheater. But why she would get up early every morning and plant a knife in the kitchen table, I was never told.
It's always been my dream to represent Australia in the Olympics. Epilepsy affects nearly 250,000 Australians. Like me, most people have their seizures controlled with medication. Even today, people with epilepsy face incredible discrimination, but this prejudice is just another obstacle we can overcome. We're just as capable as anyone else, and often we have to be stronger. I promise I'll do my best for Australia. Will you do your best for me?
We reckon one of the most powerful things in the world is this sausage, because a sausage can do just about anything. It helps people to walk, see and hear, supports families after fire, drought and flood, and even helps plant trees in our community. Our sausages are working to cure cancer, helping farmers in tough times, and connecting people who are new to a community. And at the same time that they're doing all that, they're nurturing the leaders of tomorrow while building friendships that last a lifetime. Yep, these humble sausages are more powerful than you can believe. They're working wonders in our community. And at Lions, so can you. Lions Australia, we serve more than sausages.
Joy, well-being, community, inclusion.
Special Olympics is a global movement for people with an intellectual disability, creating a world of inclusion and community through sport, where every person is accepted and welcomed, regardless of ability. One athlete, one volunteer, one family member at a time, helping to make the world a better place. Join the inclusion revolution by supporting Special Olympics.
And choose to include.
Show Me the Way creates the first social networking sites for Australia's Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students. With secure online mentoring, Show Me the Way supports students to complete their schooling and continue to TAFE, university or vocational education. Show Me the Way connects students with e-mentors from corporate Australia. With secure online mentoring, Show Me the Way supports students to complete Year 12. To donate, visit showmetheway.org.au.
I was at a book launch at Readings about 2 months ago, And somebody there said, are you going to write a poem about that book? And I said, okay, I can do that. I have to read the book first. So I read it and I wrote this poem. And the book is Ordinary Courage by Donna Mulhern. I am Donna, human shield. I will hold the orange prayer beads in my hands given to me by the man from the photo store the night before the bombing began, and remember the blessings of ordinary people. I will hold baby Noura in my arms, the baby without arms or legs in the orphanage in Baghdad, and remember the pure love of a small child. I will hold on to my convictions in my heart, the belief that war is not the way, and dare the invaders to bomb me. I will act as a human shield to protect a water treatment plant at the start of the war in Iraq, and remember that I cannot stand by and do nothing. I will hold on to my friends who share my convictions, and together we will keep fighting for peace by acting as witnesses to war and tell the world our truths. I will hold on to my sanity, though I feel it shaking as my body shakes with memories of bombs in the night, the death of children, blood everywhere, blood on my shoes, in my dreams. And remember that we can't let this be done in our name. I will find peace in my soul, past anger and bitterness. Find compassion for the ignorant who make war, and remember to tell my story, a story of ordinary courage.
Take me up to where the snow geese graze on the clouds, their feet slightly sinking into the soft, snowy candy floss. When the clouds grow grey and looming, their cloud fields grow moist and muddy, and their feet stick. So they fly away and come down to huddle and honk in backyards. When not feeding or flying, they tend their golden egg of light. And when they need to sleep, they huddle around it and extend their wings. And then it is night.
So something lighter. They're sending a spaceship to Earth to study the ancient society, and they will find when they get here a bar in Brunswick with a barman called Yanni who doesn't speak French and who thinks Degas is pronounced Degas, like some kind of retro hippie affirmation. They will find beer bottles with blue circles, Japanese brushwork and elephant-headed stoppers. They will find poets squinting in bad light in those same bars, peering over notebooks in the summer heat, sipping Sauvignon Blanc beer and cool lemonade, composing the moment.
I'm going to do a couple of oldies. I wasn't going to, but if it's going to be on telly, I may as well do something I really like. This one's called Transported. A girl with short brown hair follows me onto the tram, wearing a brown and blue striped shirt. When she sits down, I think, I reckon she's a lesbian. Then she sits at a medium distance facing me, then moves to a nearer seat facing away. On closer inspection, I decide that she isn't gay, or maybe she is, but she mightn't be, and I think she moved closer to talk maybe. The tram starts to move, and the sunlight catches my eyes. I see us. We are old lovers, the oldest of friends. We sit on the tram holding hands. The young people look at us wondering. We smile at them, a world-wizened, careworn pair. I'm looking at the back of her head, and her hair's a little too styled, too combed, a fraction too long. She's straight, all right. A straightie of the kind that are hung up, always sensitive, hypochondriac, wants a man to make her decisions for her, then blame him for not satisfying her in bed, for not being everything she ever fucking wanted. I don't know this girl, I decide. She's all right, I guess.
We've just been through this great big election thing. God, what are they doing? What are they achieving? They're so busy. Where are they going? Do they know where they're going? So I thought, well, you know, I think I could give some advice to the politicians. Someone has to. I mean, really. Don't stay awake for 3 days depending on amphetamines, cocaine, caffeine and Red Bull. Keep regular hours. Go to bed early. Get up with the sun, but not before. Relax a little. Take a siesta. Make love in the afternoon. Spend time with friends. Read a book. Do all your work in the morning and take the rest of the day off. Running hard is all very well, but where are you running to? What are you running from? Don't act like a junkie truckie. There is enough roadkill already in Canberra.
The boat rocks. Sea almost over the top. Up and down, an expanse of blue dwarfs the boat that rocks. It's almost too small to stay afloat. Scared and worried faces peer from beyond shelter, looking out for a home that's safe. They want a home that can feed them and clothe them, that isn't rubble, a home that exists. White men stalking around back in the land which they fled, promising a life just like theirs, prosperous and safe. Bombing their homes, kidnapping their cousins, murdering their fathers, but they cannot wait for the bombs to stop falling. Perhaps their homes are much nicer, safer. After all, the rumours of a ticket at an office somewhere prove to be false. Perhaps this means it's too good for them, but they have no choice. They must find a way. The uncertain scene breaks with masked men circling their boat. They tower from beyond gunmetal grey. The men march, boat people, along a desert shore, so unlike what they were promised. Cages all around, shutting them in, mocking them, reminding them of the place they were running from. A sick circle of life, where the road out of oppression just leads to another. Chasing cages, chasing with taunting wire, stretching anywhere you try to escape. A young man, barbed wire making him bleed. He's chasing cages, trying to push them back. All around him, they sit trapped and given up. Red streaked hand clutches gunmetal wire, breaking through the despair, looking for a way out, looking for someone to help him.
The thing I love about Australia is our spirit of mateship and togetherness. And whether it's a drought, a flood or a bushfire, when times are tough, Australians stick together. Well, I'll be spending Australia Day at Tamworth with 40,000 country music mates. It brings people together to celebrate our music and our great country.
Get together on Australia Day. Go to australiaday.org.au to find out how.
So, you think you're ready for this?
To take on the world? Why not?
So, you think you're ready for this?
To take on the world? Why not?
The thing I love about it. Australia is our spirit of mateship and togetherness, and whether it's a drought, a flood or a bushfire, when times are tough, Australians stick together. Well, I'll be spending Australia Day at Tamworth with 40,000 country music mates. It brings people together to celebrate.
I used to live in India, and I went back there a couple of years ago to do a thesis on a remote tribal community on the edge of a glacier. And I wrote this piece, and that's the piece that I read at that reading. So I thought I'd read it again, and none of you have heard it, which is great. That man who was disturbing my sleep has gone. He left at sunrise when the snow on the mountain peaks shines gold in the dawn. To walk where there are no roads, where the shepherds grow across the glacier, leaving the door open, the bed unmade, taking with him his beautiful face and a little piece of my self-possession.
When everything else fades away, when there is nothing else to write about, nothing to eat, nothing to do, and no one to talk to, there's always the neighbours playing We the Love Generation, or True Blue, or some song by Slade at 3 a.m, 20 times in a row, with the windows open, just for you. I suppose it's best to assume a grateful posture and say, well, at least they are something. At least they are there. You can't say you're alone in the world. Not really. Even if you do hate them, even if you do visualise putting a gun in that drunk bogan fuckwit's mouth, pushing him onto his knees, tears streaming down his face. What was I saying again? Oh yeah, gratitude for the neighbours. It's all about looking at the bright side. I'm not exactly sure why it's all about that, but that's what it's all about. Jesus said it best, love thy neighbour. The theory being that it's harder to pull the trigger and leave that cunt's brain sprayed all over the walls when deep, deep down in your soul you really love that bogan hillbilly piece of shit.
The brave cafe that still stands serves defrosted frozen cake, but don't look for petrol. In Kinglake it turned to fire. The hills stretch for miles, burned, denuded, sad. The apocalypse has come and gone. Black trees, brown leaves, scorched earth are what remain. Don't go to Kinglake without much petrol because no one sells it anymore. Both stations blew up and what remains are metal skeletons and heaps of broken, twisted stuff. I never saw the valley of the shadow of death before. I only heard the words, but now I have seen a land where life evaporated and even the ghosts have gone.
This is my very latest one. It's called Thursday Night Poem. The dilatory bus arrives at the stop and shrugs its shoulders. I wear the dirty lampposts as overcoats. Unruly buildings rattle in my pockets. Delay licks my nose with a parrot's tongue. You are sleeping in my head. Thank you.
And this is a spring poem. You know, we're getting into spring again, spring feeling. And I think it's right for this time of year. It's morning, and dawn silhouettes the bedroom blinds. Outside, the last of the camellias fall on the lawn and blossom shows its face on the apricot tree. I am wondering when we will meet. You, always so busy. Me, waiting for you. But my breasts can already feel your hands.
I'd like to read this for Di. It's just the beginning of a much longer piece that she was the first person to hear, and she enjoyed it, so I'd like to read the beginning of it. It's also the place where we first met, I think. Towers. Noisy miners have invaded the top floors of the Menzies building. A multi-million-dollar refurbishment is in process. Holes have been punched through the dusty cement, live wires exposed, and drops opened in the prudent zone where every window is pegged against suicidal impulse. After twilight, the birds set up their ambitious racket. The noise is incredible. It raises questions about the theory of evolution. So much energy spent on accelerated breath, such intense vibration of the vocal passage should doom the mucous membrane to burn itself out quick as magnesium. Instead, the flock flourishes, it multiplies. For months, the humanities have been lost to reason. It is as though the birds are the ones taking the building apart. Their cries crackle and crunch through the high tones like 1,000 strong jaws shattering musical wine glasses. The exhausted mind's eye opens on dream or myth, on cannibal, noisy miners enthusiastically intent on the crystalline sugar of one another's bones as they give themselves up to the perpetual delight of consumption. Their droppings fall, but before they hit the ground, each liquid blob sprouts wings and reascends blow-dried to heaven to begin again. It is an abbreviation of the cycle of life.
Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed Video, a different sort of TV.
Here we are at the Buddha Bar here at Style 2001, and it's jam-packed for a charity for AIDS. So you're watching 15 Fabulous Minutes. The Grand Hyatt for a fabulous function. And how's it been today for you?
Fabulous, fabulous.
How many people are here tonight?
No idea. Over 1,000, we know that. But
over 1,000?
Yes.
So you're just checking tickets?
Yes, that's right. I'm just
going to sneak in. See ya. Chase me up the escalator. We're going up to the top floor to see Style Aid. What are you doing? What's going on?
Not much, just really enjoying this.
You're very fluo.
Thank you.
Have you seen yourself?
Yeah.
And what are you playing? What are you doing?
We're the opening act. We're like the Buddha thing.
Oh, I thought the Buddha was blue.
Not this one.
Give him oxygen. Please give him oxygen. An orange. I'm hurting my eyes. And we've got a red one over here. Under the armpits, don't you? You're missing a spot.
Problem, big time.
Oh, you don't want to run out there, do you?
Exciting. Oh, it's too much time in the...
Now, you're a little Buddha man?
Little Buddha man, yeah, little exotic Buddha man.
You got a headpiece and all?
No, this is it.
This is it. Are you makeup by Mac, obviously?
Makeup by Mac over here as well.
How long did it take to Mac this guy up?
About 2 hours.
Baby Buddha wishing well, and basically you just chuck your money in and do a little prayer and wish for something really good. It's all very modelly here, I must say. Everybody's looking, oh, look at this little outfit here. Now, what are you doing tonight?
I'm doing Chemical 3.
Chemical 3. Big, huge. Now, what are you doing?
What am I doing?
Yeah. Dancing, modelling?
Modelling.
Just modelling?
Yes,
You're just going to look good.
Yeah, that's...
It's a hard job.
It's hard, because look at this, the heels of my shoes, love.
Look at these heels.
Stairs, love.
Oh, you're going to trip and fall and
cross my fingers.
Just one outfit?
One outfit this evening, yes.
Oh, that's easy. Just run out and run back in. And yourself?
I'm doing Vixen.
Vixen?
Yes.
And looking very vixen.
Thank you, thank you.
And are you going to do anything special tonight?
Oh, bit of mixing, bit of mingling.
Mingling? You're going to work that crowd, are you?
I am going to work the crowd.
Now you're finished now, completely
I'm
done.
all done.
Barefoot and all.
Yeah, barefoot and all. Toenails painted.
It's probably a good thing because, I mean, look how tall you are. Give her heels and you'll be up there.
There you go.
What is going on here?
I was asking that myself.
And what are you doing in a little bit of a loincloth here?
Well, trying to sort of hang free, doing pretty well. Good job of it, I think.
So what are you doing?
I'm trying my best to look like James Packer.
Yes.
And
is it working?
I don't know. Apparently, if I had the money James Packer had, I'd be very happy.
Then it'd work.
Indeed. But I'm modelling for Vixen this evening.
Vixen.
Yes.
So what are you, a towel boy or a statue or?
I'm the water boy. No, I'm actually trying to impersonate a boy walking down the beach in Bali. I hear it's a female's outfit, but you know they ran out of girls this evening.
You're doing it. You're working it. It's fine. Bannister, we find you here all the time.
Well.
How are you?
Yes.
Are these your girls here?
Yes.
Oh,
Some
fabulous.
of my black girls. Yes.
Your black girls. Yeah. Turn around, give us a little show.
Slave girls.
So, what are you doing tonight? What's your theme?
High class concubines.
High class concubines.
From the equator.
Oh, okay. And how many gowns you got tonight?
10.
10. Yeah. And tell me about this piece on your neck. This is just stunning.
Well, because the theme tonight's the Buddha bar, I went through my whole jewellery collection and picked out pieces that would, go
relatively
with the theme.
Buddha, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm wearing a relatively new piece of Kate Durham. Did you say awkward or
awkward?
Awesome? No,
awesome. It is awesome.
It's
that
awesome.
Goes without saying. Where are you girls from?
Los Angeles.
LA. You're importing them now.
Yeah.
Oh.
Got it. No, I'm a Melbourne girl.
Oh, you're a Melbourne girl. Just kidding.
I'm Sri Lankan Caribbean, but I was raised in Melbourne.
Fabulous. So you're enjoying tonight?
Oh, it's wonderful.
And you're ready to go out there? Well, knock 'em dead, and we'll see you out on the stage doing your stuff. Don't tease them too much, all right?
Definitely.
Basically, not only are you helping HIV and the cause, but you also get a damn good spread. Now, we've got red orange here, obviously all in orange. What are you serving here? Right.
Okay, here, if you want to come in and have a look, we've got some cheese souffle with romesco sauce. Here we have some salmon rillette en brisée pastry with some salmon roe. And here we've got some fresh oysters with Asian dressing and a little bit of caviar.
Lovely, not a bad little spread. Now, there's about 4 to 5 other groups of restaurants here. That's just the best store. Now, we've got some yummy, delicious things from, well, Legon's Restaurant Food and Wine. You're going to shove that in your mouth. Is it delicious? Oh, it's a bit hard to eat. Nice?
Divine.
Divine. Oh.
I got to do it all.
Now I can't talk. What was that?
Duck liver parfait. Duck liver parfait.
And what else do you have here?
Caramelised pork hock and Vietnamese salad. Cheese gougere. Fish balls, salmon and salt.
A veggie ball. We're going to enter the grand ballroom, and of course this is where the show's going on. But at the moment, we're actually witnessing auction. So this is what they do here, and they're giving away a fabulous prize, a flight to Bali. And basically you just make a bid and you can auction that. And of course the money goes to HIV and helping those people with HIV in their homes, which the government doesn't do that. So the VAC, Victoria AIDS Council, is basically an organisation to help those living with HIV and their partners at home, because there's over about 17,000 people with it, and they feel fatigued and they get sick, and it's not a great thing. And there's quite a high percentage of Victorians with that disease. So if you think it's gone away, forget it. It's still here. Now, what are you guys wearing? AG. Yeah. A lot of lip gloss going on here.
Yeah, well, you know, just get into the mood.
Getting into it, feeling comfortable, feeling good?
Comfortable, definitely.
Behind me is the big Buddha, and basically this is a lucky dip. You pay about $20 and you stick your hand in its mouth and you have a bit of a feel around and you win a prize. Oh, water. Always get the dud prizes. Always get the duds. Now, you've been playing a few games here trying to win something?
Yeah, no, I'd like to win a night here at the Hyatt. I think that'd be quite good.
You don't have a room tonight at all?
No, I don't have a room here tonight, but I wouldn't mind getting one. Maybe I could sort of try. I'm happy to give as much money to Style Aid so I can just crawl up and have a room here. It'd be great.
Yeah, because that way, after drinking, you get totally sloshed.
Have you won anything?
No. I'm a bit of a loser.
No, you're not.
I always lose.
No, you don't.
Oh,
how can this guy be a loser?
We'll try. We'll try again. Well, thanks very much.
That's all right.
Enjoy your night.
You enjoy your night too. Hope you win something.
I'm wearing the same suit that I interviewed you in last time. How pathetic's that?
Yeah, but you look gorgeous. Hey,
twice in one night. What do you get? What happened? rolling them up. Now, 50 bucks. Basically, these are all the prizes here. A recreation gym membership worth $395. Oh my God, Adrian Jones Photography valued 750 bucks. Damn good prizes going on here.
Fantastic.
Oh, I just got assaulted. What's up?
What's up with you, baby? What are you doing? You going to play?
Huh?
With me?
I'm going to play with you. Why? What are you doing?
I'm Madam Lash. This is my game.
Oh, you're Madam Lash. Ah, no wonder I got lashed on the shoulders. So explain the rules here.
The rules are, this is the only game of chance on the floor tonight. You get 1 in 3, the odds are fantastic.
Okay.
You get to put the chestnut under one of the cups. If you guess correctly, you win one of those fantastic prizes. And we've got the cream of the prizes here tonight.
Now, most of the prizes...
They start at 750 bucks.
I noticed that.
The minimum is 200.
So... that's pretty damn good.
The odds are fantastic. Absolutely.
So how many? You've only given away a few so far, I've noticed.
Sorry?
Are they all losing, are they?
No, baby. We've had more winners than losers tonight. It's a 1 in 3 chance.
All full of winners.
Well, yeah.
So are you spanking a few people then?
Absolutely.
Seriously, things happening here at Style Aid. Keep watching. There's going to be some more after the break. A little late in the night, and guess what? Everybody's getting all this alcohol down them, hence the cheers champagne. And if you're getting a bit tipsy and feeling a bit drunk, you can always sing, yeah? Or not even speak to me. You're going to get out there and do some karaoke?
I'm getting on the karaoke.
No! Yeah, basically you can get out there and sing.
Myself once and for all tonight, and that's all.
What, you're saying you can't sing?
No, I just got up on the runway for...
What, you think they can sing?
No.
No, I don't think they can sing. Well, have a look at some of these bad attempts of karaoke. So this is a bloody good cause because the government actually doesn't give them any funding. What it is the Victorian AIDS Council have fundraisers like tonight, basically to save up enough money for these people to have care at home, which is very important for them, and just to do the daily things like shopping and just the everyday, which they can't do themselves.
I'm here for Melissa Jackson on makeup, but I'm not with Mac.
Oh, that's okay. And how many people have you made up tonight?
Must have been about 8 people.
8 people. Yeah. Frantic?
Towards the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what sort of look are you achieving?
For Melissa Jackson, we're sort of doing a lot of red around the eyes. We're sort of
saw that earlier.
Eyes and feet sort of thing. It's just going to be sort of minimal
What's that
makeup.
meant to be saying though, with the bloody eye look?
Oh, you'll have to ask the makeup designer. I just did it.
Where is she? Makeup designer. We're gonna find her. This is the makeup designer. What's going on with that look with the red eyes?
It's just about colour, really.
Do you sort of wake up in the morning with that red eye look and thought, that's it, that's what I'm going to do for Style Aid? Where is Melissa? She's here somewhere. Stand up, girls. You're looking fabulous. Now, you're wearing a little orange ensemble with a hat. Comfy?
Yeah, it is actually. It's like wrapping yourself in a blanket.
You're not getting that itch?
No, it's beautiful.
Sorry, stay on. Sabotage.
How are our feet? They're the best bit.
Your feet. Now, look at this. Come down here. Have a look at this. Fiery foots. I go to, I seem to find this one. You are our fabulous 15-minute gate crasher.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Every bloody show where you're at. How do you do it?
I just do it.
Now, why are you wearing your necklace on your head?
Because you told me to wear this on my head. It can go here, there, or there.
Blame me.
Do you want to see the bra that I wore to the sleazy ball in '94? I'm just going to change my outfit. You like?
I'm shocked. Totally speed.
Can I just say how wonderful your show is, and it's great to be on the other end of the camera.
It is, it is.
15 fabulous minutes.
Oh, you know it well. There you go.
Who doesn't know 15 fabulous minutes? One of the best shows on Channel 31.
I think, okay, I'll give you the check later. So how are you enjoying tonight?
Well, I think it's a very important night, Style Aid, because it's a great example of how the business community can come together to help raise money for HIV/AIDS. Very important.
It is. And you're getting you must be worn by now, those poor little shoes.
They're 100 years old. Don't look down there. But look, I've always said, if they're looking at your shoes, you're doing something very wrong with your face.
These guys are all you're a double drinker.
No.
Oh, yeah, you're holding for a friend. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what I'm doing.
Making the most as well. What have you been drinking all night?
Champagne.
Champagne and wine.
Champagne, wine. The show's been fabulous. But this girl is a star.
Is a star?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because she's Nina Hanna.
Nina Hanna.
You know Nina Hanna, don't you?
I know the name. How could I not know the name?
Exactly. Get her singing.
We've got to get you singing.
Apparently so.
No, do a tune for us now.
Oh, no, I can't. You want me to do Dancing Queen?
I'll go on. We'll get you up.
Okay, wait a second. Wait.
We'll get you up on stage. All right.
Oh. No, there's no chorus yet. It's just music at the moment. But,
I'll dance.
Yeah, you'll dance? And I'll dance as well. Dancing Queen. That's all I can do.
That's all you know out of that whole song.
Out of the whole song, that's
Pretty
all I know.
poor effort. You put in a card, you choose the card, and you send it to a friend and say, what a great time we're having.
They open it up and it comes out all gorgeous like this.
Oh, look, here's one we prepared earlier. Love from Style Aid. Isn't that fabulous? Now, how much does it cost for this one?
$5.
$5? Is that all?
That's all.
Well, that's a small charity, isn't it?
Goes to the AIDS Council.
Oh, absolutely. We can gather that. So $5. If you haven't got $20 or $50 like some of the other prizes, $5 and you can do something and feel good about it. Wearing the Little AIDS badge here.
Yeah, I am.
Supporting the cause?
Absolutely.
Now, did you know almost 6,000 people this year alone in Victoria died of AIDS?
Yeah, well...
So basically you're supporting that by buying a little red ribbon?
I am, absolutely.
And do you know what day World's AIDS Day is on?
1st of December.
Well, you do. I hear whispering in here. 1st of December. Yeah. And you're a supporter as well.
Of course.
And what have you done tonight to support it?
Lotteries, lucky dips, you name it, we've done it.
You've done. Have you won anything?
And we've come here. No, she did though.
What'd you win?
I won a coffee grinder.
A coffee grinder. And how does that go?
Oh look, I haven't seen it yet, but
make the noise.
I really need one.
Like a vibrator.
Like a vibrator. Okay, you're handing out little oranges. What's the story going on here?
Well, it's kind of lucky fruit. You know, you pay $20, you get a piece of fruit, and you win a prize.
Okay.
And then you can choose to make the offering to Buddha with the piece of fruit.
As in the fruit. Yeah. So what are the prizes you're giving away tonight?
Well, they range from $50 to $250. They're restaurant vouchers, facials, CDs, all sorts of really good prizes. Yeah.
Fantastic. So come prepared, bring your money.
Yeah.
Because not only is there a $90 fee to enter, there's also the chance to also give more money for a great cause.
Yeah, and win some good prizes too. Well, nobody's been disappointed.
So how many people have won so far?
Well, everyone. The $20, everyone gets a prize.
Oh, so you're guaranteed a prize?
Absolutely.
Josefska is the woman behind the man here. And look at you, busy sewing away. Now, what's going on with this little number here?
I'm actually just sewing him in because I'm afraid that he's going to fall out of it. He's, yes.
Well, tell me a bit about the inspiration behind this little creation.
I am influenced highly by abstract art, so abstract expression.
So you've done art as well?
Yes, I have.
Oh, so you're confusing it, or infusing it into fashion, basically.
Definitely.
Thanks, guys, very much for doing this for VAC, Victorian AIDS Council. And do you do all these charities?
Oh,
is this your first one?
No, MAC is actually sponsoring worldwide. We actually got 3 lipsticks called Viva Glam, Viva Glam 2 and Viva Glam 3, and the donation of the total of the money that we take for the lipstick goes worldwide to AIDS charities, people basically living with HIV and living with AIDS.
Now, the MAC range, the Viva La Glam and that's sold in Australia only goes to the Australian AIDS Council.
Absolutely. Whatever country the money is taken for each individual lipstick will stay within the country and go also in the community of people living with HIV and AIDS.
And look at all these people hanging around. Sorry? Are you eating?
Yeah, eating. Well, actually, no, we've gone to 153 because we're in.
Oh my God, it's amazing. How did
What's with yours?
We went to the same stylist.
We did.
But I think I only got half the price.
We're twins! We are twins. I was about to say, you clued in, but I'm missing one key factor.
You haven't got the glitter.
I haven't got purple. Now, I was here about 4 years ago and purple was the theme for Style Aid.
Well, you were way ahead of your time.
I was.
Oh.
Now, how long does it take? I know how long it's taken me to get this hairstyle. How long is it taking you?
About 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, about 15, 20 minutes. You normally wear it like this?
This is him. This is the genius.
Oh, you did this. I'm blaming you for this.
Well, yeah, it's looking pretty hot. Yours is looking good.
No, but you've got the kind of side wedge part thing going on.
Do you think we can get him some glitter? Can you come upstairs?
Upstairs, there's another... Oh, you got a room?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for watching and I'll see you next week. Bye.
I didn't think this could happen in Toowoomba. And then I saw it on TV that night. It really opened my eyes.
Whenever the community comes to us and says we need your help, we do whatever we can to assist.
It is a great feeling to be able to help your neighbours, to be able to help your community.
Each Lions member and each Lions club in different parts of the country, we're totally different. But we have core values that are the same. They remain the same for any Lions member and any Lions club anywhere in not just Australia but around the world.
Anything that you can think of that you want to do and support and help, Lions are doing it right now somewhere in this world.
I think Lions need to tell their story. They need to let people know the amazing things that they do.
The 3 major streams that we have in Lions are the community service that we do for the public, health and medical research, and the disaster relief.
We're out there to help people. If you love helping people, get out and help. Join a Lions Club.
We started this project about 20 years ago. All this gear would normally go to the tip. We recycle it and give it to someone less fortunate and where it is needed in the world.
Being a Lion here in Australia means that I can make a difference to my community. But most importantly, it's inspiring other people to get out and be part of their community and make it a safer and a much happier and better place to live.
Childhood cancer, I've always been interested in cancer and small children from the time I first got cancer 30 years ago. Research is an indefinite item. You can't see it, but it helps so much.
I'm here managing the money and the relationships, but other people are out there raising funds and bringing in community support. Without all of us working together, we can't affect change.
2 more extra hands at any function, any working bee, anything we do, 2 more hands can help us raise more funds, can help us serve our community better.
I went to my Lions Club and I said, I got this idea and I think it's a little bit crazy, but I think we could raise some serious money doing it. And it was to run 100 kilometres. And the club said, okay, if you want to do this, whatever you need us to do, we'll be there 100%. And I'm pretty proud to say that together we raised just over $16,000. So we blew the target out of the water, and I think that was due to a lot of the support that I got.
Through my leadership training and all that, I've learned about thinking global, acting local, and Lions Club is definitely that kind of thing. They act within their communities, but the money that they raise can often end up in any corner of the world.
As an individual, I could only do so much, and whilst it was my burning desire to try and help these people, having an organisation such as the Lions family to call upon to support me and those people that were working with me just made it possible for us to achieve so much more.
You know, after the devastation, to come back into the community, you know, you were shattered by what you saw. You know, no police station, no post office, no petrol station, you know, no kindergarten. There was nothing here.
And all that water with an unstoppable.
I don't know that I've ever seen as much as arrived. There were fridges, washing machines, dryers. There was toasters, jugs, just everything.
To be invited to be a part of Lions just opened up a whole new world to me. A world that provided a structured organisation that could see that the hours that I volunteered could achieve so much more.
I think Lions is a wonderful organisation. The people in it have charity in their hearts.
I can go anywhere in this country, see somebody with a Lions badge, walk up to them and say, "Good day, you got a friend."
Never once in my life had I had a group of people where I could go to, say anything, and know that no matter what, they would be there, they would stand by me.
It's the family. That's what we call it's the Lions family. Without Lions, I think I'd be lost now because they've been my life.
We work hard, but the most important thing is we have fun.
The fellowship of all the members of the club, the broader community, it's just a tremendous organisation to belong to. You know, I'll be here till I die.
It is extremely rewarding and gratifying to be a part of an organisation that can spread its support so far and wide.
More members means more hands, means more support to the community.
I would encourage everyone just to give it a go and see if it is for them, because the return that you get for giving to others is amazing.
Get out there, do something wonderful, be part of this fantastic organisation.
Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV. Live streamed from Echuca each week, MELfeed Video, a different sort of TV. Live streamed from Echuca each week, MELfeed Video, a different sort of TV.
They say there's a chance I could die in a car crash, maybe even from heart disease, maybe even skin cancer.
I could die in a work-related accident, or I could die in a fight.
The fact is, the biggest cause of death for men in my age group is suicide.
Please don't let this happen to me.
You can do something. Lifeline believes that suicide is mostly preventable. Help us save lives. Find out what you can do at lifeline.org.au.
MELfeed Video is about to close operations for tonight, but we'll be back with you next Monday evening. In the meantime, here is a selection of programs that will be seen on our next scheduled web stream. You're welcome to visit our website at MELfeed.video for further details of this project. Until next time, from all of us here at MELfeed Video, we wish you a very good night.